Hello and welcome to an About Basingstoke special, brought to you in association with IncuHive, the Stronger Together Forum, and Mr. Blue Sky Consultancy. Recently, Mr. Blue Sky himself, Mark Jones, held one of his monthly chats, which are separate from the podcast episodes that you get here on About Basingstoke. And usually these STF events are only for its members, but Mark and his guest kindly allowed us to record this one. Being interviewed is George Scott-Welsh, the CEO of IncuHive, who, as you will hear, is a serial entrepreneur who puts innovation at the heart of what he does. In the conversation, George shares some amazing takeaways and insights about business that I'm sure you're going to find not only fascinating, but very useful, whether you're a seasoned business veteran, new to running your own venture, or even just thinking about it. So, over to Mark Jones.
George, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's absolutely brilliant. We're in the wonderful IncuHive, which we are going to talk about, but give us an elevator pitch about your life and career journey so far, George.
I certainly don't think I'd pitch my life to anyone, but I can definitely tell you about it. So grew up in Salisbury to a very entrepreneurial father, went to a funny school probably when I was 11 and I had to stay at the school. So I had quite an interesting experience at school, being brought up by people on a payroll, which I kind of found quite difficult, I think. And then I started in chemistry, actually. So I was a research chemist, did chemistry at Leeds. They sponsored me up to Leeds, and I didn't like structured learning.
Yeah.
So I did 2 years of chemistry, and then I switched to biology, did 1.5 years of biology, and then I quit. Went into the city, and I didn't understand it. The lack of tangibility, the stock market, you can't touch it. It's things going up and down, although I quite like maths. And so my friend was working for Foxtons, the estate agent. I absolutely loved it. It's still the best job I've ever had. And so I went and worked for Foxtons and became an estate agent. I was very good at it.
Yeah.
I made some really good money. When I left Foxtons in end of 2007, I tried to start my own company. I failed. I found it really difficult. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And one of my former bosses at Foxtons phoned me up and offered me a job at Chesterton.
Yeah.
And so I moved there, and I did 3 years there. And then I started my first company in end of 2009. We launched Kiss Gyms in 2010. Yeah, it was really successful. We sold 1,076 memberships on one day in our first 2 weeks of opening.
How did you sell 1,076 memberships in one day?
It just had the perfect problem solution fit.
Wow.
So the market, or product market fit, the market was at 60, 70 pounds, and we were offering $14.99, 24-hour access gyms. Our gyms were bigger and better. And it's just,
That is volume.
It's like Aldi or Lidl coming into the market. 20 years ago, you'd never assume there was space for 2 more supermarkets. And that, they turn up, they get the model right, they solve the problem because Tesco's has become too expensive.
Yeah.
And they nail a piece of the market.
Yeah.
So we did 3 sites. Our business was unbelievably lean. It wasn't my idea. I was an investor that came into the business as like a first investor in and joined forces. And there wasn't space for me executively because it was such a lean model. So I went to Devon and I bought a pub.
Of course, that's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Keith Floyd, and his pub came up for sale in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. So I bought it with my dad, 50-50, and I moved to Devon and I ran a pub with the intention to go on and create a small pub co.
Yeah.
But I just got stuck. I underestimated the importance of the landlord in the revenue generation of a village pub, and it took me maybe 5 years to get out of that business.
Yeah.
I still own the freehold, but I've got a tenant in there now. And whilst I was down there, actually, I started a couple of other businesses. I started a business that's very similar to Receipt Bank, which was for the pub, so invoice processing, because we have 15 invoices a day, and it's a massive pain in the arse, typing them all into Xero. And Xero didn't have a scanning product, and Receipt Bank was quite young. I think Xero maybe launched in 2009, something like that. So I launched this company, but we didn't fund it well enough. I wasn't techie enough, and we folded. and now Receipt Bank's a multi-billion pound company, but and a great company. So I failed at a couple of startups then. I also joined a company called Holiday Crowd, and as a kind of early stage investor slash exec working, that didn't come off very well. And then came to Winchester, and I met Steve Northam, who started IncuHive a few years before. So it's just a one-man band. He needed some help. I said I'd invest in his company. I had a property job lined up in London, which I pulled out of. I hadn't signed a contract, but I had business cards. I was as managing director of a tech prop firm in London to kind of compete with Purple Bricks and Rightmove. And I just got a bit of a funny feeling about the guy that I was going into business with. So I backed out, and I phoned Steve and I said, have you got any work for me? Can I come and make the tea? And that was end of 2017. And so I did. I started working with Steve for free. Then he paid me a little bit of money, and then we built IncuHive up together, just the two of us.
Boom.
Yeah, wow. We worked really well together. We're very, very different.
Yeah. So let's talk about IncuHive, and so give us a bit more about the story and how we are here.
Steve Northam, I don't know if you follow him on LinkedIn, he's a really wacky bloke. He's got a 737, half a 737 in his garden.
I think I've seen this,
And he owns a tank and all sorts of weird stuff. But he's an unbelievable chap. And he was the senior lecturer at the business school at Winchester. Yeah. And his problem was trying to keep his graduating alumni who'd got student startups in Winchester to give them the right community to scale their businesses. And so he did it himself, and he launched the first IncuHive in Chandler's Ford in 2017. And then once I joined, which was one site, we then did more sites in Winchester, New Milton. We had a small site with the council here. And then we went into business support, and we started off as an incubation company. So we invested in the startups. We had quite a few positions, but we couldn't agree as directors. We did most of the investing as individuals, and it was just too high risk. So we kind of pivoted to co-working and serviced office with free business support. And we grew the business to 11 sites, 15 staff. And then it was quite obvious that Steve and I were in the wrong jobs. And so I bought him out in August 2023, then gave him a job. I speak to him, I don't think there's many humans I speak to more than him. He was in my little huddle in COVID, It's just me and him. It was a bit weird. But no, so he's my CTO, and he's awesome. And he's a brilliant man. He's very, very unbelievably entrepreneurial, very good at teaching entrepreneurship.
He's very different to you, though, isn't he?
Completely different, he's not a people person.
Okay.
I banned him from talking to customers.
Okay.
Or staff, actually. He wasn't allowed to talk to staff or customers. Yeah, he's got a bit better.
Yeah, good.
Now that he was also burdened by the responsibility. Whereas I love responsibility. I love paying people's mortgages and staff and people. So, it's a people business. And we're now the right way round.
And how did we get here?
The way we operate, because we're trying to protect small businesses from the challenges of the market, when a lot of it's predicated on the 1954 Act, leases. We don't rent to rent, and we don't currently buy buildings, but we are about to offer on our first site. So we run management agreements for property owners, property owners that have a use that might be ancillary to their existing use. And our first site in Chandler's Ford was exactly the same as this, an engineering business. They need lots of warehouse. It had 5,000 square foot of office attached, which they didn't use. And so we went in and did a similar kind of deal to here. So we've been looking for space in Basingstoke for a long time. We had a shop on the high street which didn't work. COVID just kind of killed that. And we don't want to be in Basing View, so we want to be Houndmills. We feel like it's more in line with our market, which is kind of substance over style. So it's gritty. It's get out of your bedroom and come into your first workspace. Gary and I have known each other for probably 8 years, but have got to know each other more
And
recently.
Gary, I know, is in the audience with the
Gary,
wonderful,
so Gary
with the wonderful shirt
Yeah.
there. He always has a collection of wonderful shirts.
Yeah, Gary's a visionary entrepreneur, one of Basingstoke's finest.
Absolutely.
He's very altruistic, wants to give back, wants to help the future of the small business market, and so it's a good relationship.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so we are here working for Gary to fill up his space with rent-paying customers, which we can then support through our business support schemes.
What's it like being an entrepreneur? Because you're different, aren't you? People like you and Gary are very different people. I mean, Gary's, I've had the pleasure of knowing Gary for over 20 years, particularly a lot during the last 10 years when we've done a lot of cycling together. Well, not together, because Gary's a lot fitter than I am, so I've seen his arse from a distance. It's a very good arse. No, Gary's amazing. When I was setting up my business, one of the people I went round to talk to I'd spoke to Gary, because he has a wonderful attitude. But you're the same, George. You're both very entrepreneurial. What is it that makes an entrepreneur?
So I think it's a mindset. I think it's a bit of nature, a bit of nurture. It's a constant cycle of experimenting, failing, trial and error. So you need a growth mindset. If you know about Carol Dweck and her fixed and growth mindset, I think people with a fixed mindset struggle to be entrepreneurs. But I think so. You need a growth mindset. You need to be a risk taker, so willing to take risks. Have unwavering self-belief. Actually, if you have unwavering self-belief, you don't see risk. So it's not a risk because you back yourself. So that's a bit of an oxymoron. Probably the two biggest qualities that we see in successful entrepreneurs is persistence. Yeah. So being unbelievably persistent, and then hard work. I know from my interactions with Gary what time he gets up, how hard he works. We message each other any time of the day or night, and there's always a response. Yeah. And so I think hard work is probably on a parity with persistence, because we fail all the time.
Yeah, I was glad you used the F word, because I was going to ask you about the F word. You've used it a couple of times in our chat already. The F word's very important because a lot of people fear that as well. It's another F word: fear and failure, and fear of failure. That's I think holds a lot of people back. So how do you overcome that?
So fear of failure is actually shame, I think. So it's the fear of shame, and I don't feel shame.
Yeah.
So
he speaks as a Southampton fan.
Yeah.
So Spygate. Anybody?
I think that's probably from being carted off to boarding school at 11, just to fight for yourself. And, you just don't. Yeah, I think my school motto, possibly I can't remember, was something to do with wanting to be someone else is a waste of the person that you are, or something along those lines. So that's always been drilled into me. I don't care what anyone thinks of me. I don't care if I get it wrong. As long as I work hard and I'm nice to people, then you'll be all right. So I've had some monumental failures.
Do you mind using the F word?
No, not at all. No, I mean, culturally, it's a bit weird in the UK. People don't like the word failure. In the US, if you're trying to raise money into a startup, if you haven't had a failure, you're almost uninvestable.
Yeah.
Whereas on this side of the pond, it's a bit different. And we're British. The British don't like failure. Whereas I think it's an essential part of life, because otherwise you can't learn.
Do you stick with that theory about fail fast? So if it's not going right, you go, I think it's not working, let's pivot.
I think wishful thinking is quite a dangerous position to be in.
Yeah.
In an entrepreneurial environment, thinking that something's going to get better.
Yeah.
I think pivoting too late is more punitive than pivoting too early.
Yeah.
So if you're clinging on to a model for too long, I think that's more punitive than pivot, like getting rid of a model. Of you could call pivoting failing. So failing, too late. Yeah. And we've met lots of businesses that have clung on to models for a decade, made no money, and then gone pop, and they've failed too slowly and wasted 10 years of good years of being able to make money.
Is it all about the money?
It used to be for me. One of my motivations is to emulate my dad. Yeah. And he had a big exit in 2007. I hope he doesn't listen to this, but he's never said I'm proud of you. And that's a generational thing.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
actually
yeah,
never
yeah,
said
yeah.
he loves me. I know he does. It's implied, and I've got an amazing relationship with him, and I speak to him every day, and he's a business mentor of mine. But I think it probably stems from that, this kind of competition of trying to prove myself so that I get, well done, son. One day it will happen. So initially it was trying to emulate that from a money perspective. When Kiss Gyms had a very difficult time in COVID. Our landlords didn't give us any rent holidays. We went from making 150 grand EBITDA a month to losing maybe 200 grand a month overnight. Had to turn all the direct debits off. We couldn't compete with Joe Wicks and start doing online stuff because his model was different, where he's getting paid by advertisers and brands. And so we really struggled, and I painfully exited that business in 2020, December 2020. Interestingly, we were very close to exiting pre-COVID to Pure Gym.
Yeah.
So 2019, we're in very advanced conversations with Pure Gym to sell that business to them. And then, I exited painfully and lost a seven-figure sum. So that changed that changed me a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
I was unbelievably stressed. I think it's the most stressed I've ever been, and I don't normally get stressed. And I did a talk here alongside Maria Miller as part of, I think it's the M3 Job Club Christmas thing, and I did a rather hackneyed talk on Kubler-Ross and the change curve and the cycle of grief around change and pain, and having gone through this quite difficult process. And I kind of pivoted away from wealth creation to just journey. And I love working and I love my job. And I've given up thinking about money. As long as we're profitable and repeatable, I don't care about exit. I've got no exit strategy for IncuHive. I just work until I keel over, I think. And then someone else can do it. And I'm not bothered. So it's a much healthier. It's a much healthier because I'm not rampantly trying to raise money. Kiss Gyms, our investors, they were great, but we, towards the end it was harder, and I don't want to raise money into my business. I don't want to be burdened by relinquishing any control to someone else.
Do you think we have, with the next generation coming, I don't, and believe me, I'm getting so confused. I'm getting older now. Gen Z, Gen X, whatever. Do you think there's a lot of budding entrepreneurs in whatever Gen is? I don't know which one it is. Gen Z, Gen Z.
Absolutely, and I think probably way more than our generation. And that's just off the back of platforms like TikTok and YouTube and side hustles. I think the younger generation understands side hustles, and we're both Gen X actually, which is 66 to. So maybe you're Gen...
I'm not 66 yet. I know.
1966.
Oh, 1966. I know I've weathered badly. I've been trying to use Gary's moisturiser to look younger.
So I think you're on the cusp of Gen...
Yeah, I'm 64. I'm 62 years old, so I'm 1964.
Our upbringing is get up, hard work. Businesses didn't change much between, say, the late 50s and the mid 80s, late 80s. It was that kind of just get on and graft. Whereas now there's a lot more discussions about passive income and side hustles. And, there's a lot more, trading and all that kind of stuff. So I do think there's an entrepreneurial spirit. I do worry that the persistence and the hard work that is needed to follow through on that entrepreneurial kind of mindset it might be lacking, but I don't know. My kids are in their not even teenagers yet, so we'll see.
It's interesting as well, because I remember we had a conversation the other week, because obviously I've set my business up in when I was 58, I think. I went for it sort of freelance, and and now I'm actually properly because I was working for one client, but now I'm working just for myself. And so, but I think you said to me, was it in their 40s a lot of people start their business?
The average age I think is 42 for a startup. There's only one reason you should start a business, and that is that there's customer demand. There's no other reason to start a business, not because I can't work for someone else or I want a work-life balance, but I would suggest that the the average age of people starting businesses is off the back of lifestyle, not wanting to slog up to London and work 100 hours a week for a corporate, and then valuing their, in your 20s, you feel a bit more immortal, and you don't think about later life, and when your priorities change, into family, health, and children, as opposed to money and working.
It's an interesting one you say about customer demand, because obviously what I'm doing with Stronger Together Forum, I didn't know if there was going to be a customer demand. And I suppose a lot of businesses are like that. You just have, it comes back to that belief, I guess, doesn't it? You think you have an idea, you hope it's going to work. I mean, clearly I'm not going to be in your league in terms of what you've done, but in its own small way, myself and other sole traders, whoever tries to start a business, it's you just hope that what you're doing is going to work.
We don't hope. So wishful thinking is an absolute killer.
Yeah, is it?
So we don't do any hoping.
Okay.
We do market research, primary research. We make some assumptions. Who's the customer? What's their problem? How does your solution add value to them? So for your business, all you needed to do was call 40 people that might be in this room and say...
I spoke to 5, actually. Thanks, Gary.
That's actually enough.
No, it was,
If your assumption is, if they fit a particular vertical and your assumption is that they're going to say yes, then, it's extraordinary how many businesses we meet that don't do that. They don't talk to anyone. They just blindly go in thinking something's going to work, and they don't test in the market. So like if I'm going into when I went into Andover, we'd go into the coffee shops in Andover, and you'd walk in and it's mostly blokes would be sat at their computer caning cake, like nailing coffees, getting annoyed with the kids that are coming in and pushchairs, and you just go and ask them, and in an hour you can go into 4 coffee shops, speak to 10 people, interrupt them and say, can I buy you your next coffee, could I ask you some questions,
great,
why are you working in here, there's no co-working in Andover, how much do you spend in here a week, how fat are you getting? And within an hour you can understand realistic demand.
Wow.
Great. And it's especially pertinent in a market that is either new, your market isn't new, because you have the your hope wasn't hope actually, because you've done it before.
You tell my wife that.
Because you've done it before, and people have bought into you in a slight iteration with a former product that wasn't quite the same. But so the demand is that demonstrable demand. And it's quite easy to find out that demand.
I think for me, it was very much because I've had the pleasure of working in this community for 29 years now, and it's the people. It's always the people, and the most wonderful people. And I did hope, as you say, there was a bit of I think people will come along with this, and thankfully they are. So still more room on the bus, by the way, everybody who hasn't joined yet. But it's that sort of thing. And it's great when you see things working out. Like I'm seeing these conversations going on and doing these sort of conversations on a podcast and people connecting. That's really gives you a buzz, doesn't it? When it works.
Humans crave physical interaction. We communicate 80% by body language. I think there's the more technologically advanced we become, the more AI there is, the more need there is for this kind of stuff, human interaction, collaborative communities. I think you're in the right place at the right time.
So what do you think of the Basingstoke business landscape at the moment?
I love Basingstoke. I think it's a really interesting town. It's very well located. It's got an incredible business community. It's heavily predicated on corporates back in the day, but I think that's there is a slight change. There's more growth here in the startup sector, which we're really excited about. It's very uncomplicated, which I really like. Some of the other areas we work in, there's a lot of NIMBYism. We don't seem to have that here in Basingstoke. There's a really strong community. It's a good population. I think it's 108,000, something like that.
180,000.
It's 108 in the town.
108
centre,
and then
we've got 180
right.
something, 60,000 people coming in every day. There's a real collective ambition to make it better, and there's a really collaborative approach to that, which we don't see in other parts of Hampshire and some, in Surrey. So we're also it's a borough that's got a very strong. And I'm not just saying this because you're here, Andy, but the council here, all those things that frustrate people in other towns that don't have the same services, it's really, it's really noticeable. Milton Keynes is similar. I loved
Yeah.
working in Milton
Yeah.
Keynes. You don't ever get stressed in Milton Keynes. There's no traffic jams. You can always park. You don't get the parking fines. You know, it's got a real. It's one of the largest growing cities in the country. Basingstoke's it's growing.
Yeah.
You know, really quickly, which is great.
Yeah.
So there's a real ambition here, which
That's
is
great.
attractive to be part of that.
So you're not old, George, but what would George tell his younger self?
Invest in commercial property in 2008, and then go and sit on the beach. I think. Yeah, probably that.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, I don't know. Just what would I say? Just work hard, not be nice to people. I don't know.
Not be nice to people.
No, work hard
and be nice to people. I was going to say not be. I'm taking these hearing aids back.
Work hard, be nice to people.
Yeah, I was going to say you're one of the be nice to people, definitely.
Yeah, just work. I don't know. I've done a lot.
Yeah.
I would have done a lot of things a lot differently. Yeah. A lot more differently. I think the younger you can get support, the better.
Yeah.
And that's not support for parents, siblings. You know, that's support from people like Gary. Or on an apprenticeship scheme, if in a particular area, and put yourself out there to get the right support, and just go and start. If you want to start your own company, go and start anything.
Okay.
Just, I don't know, where's the demand? It could be, every time you think I can't solve that problem, try and solve that problem in the marketplace, and look for other people that are in a similar position that can't solve that problem.
Yeah. How many IncuHives are there now?
So we're up to 8.
8?
Yeah.
That's not bad, is it?
Yeah, we
That's good going.
Well, we were at 11 when I bought Steve out. Some were underperforming. But our next rollout is we'll start buying our own stock.
So I'm a small business or I'm a scale up, I'm listening to this. Give me 3 reasons why I should come to IncuHive.
The first reason is if your business is housed in a community, in a like-minded community, your chances of success greatly improve. So that's the first thing I'd say, and that's through peer-to-peer learning, using other people's confidence to help your own confidence. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we're an inexpensive solution, marginally less expensive than the competition locally. And then the third thing is that we're flexible. So we're not going to tie you into a long license or a long lease. With the business support, we'll give that to you anyway.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So, but yeah.
That's a good pitch.
But it doesn't need to be IncuHive. Don't sit at home on your own, banging your head against the desk, trying to start a business, asking your mum if it's a good idea. Or your dad. Because the worst thing they can do is tell you it's a great idea. Yeah, because when it's not, that's the worst.
I want to get our lovely audience to ask some questions now. So who wants to kick us off? Come on, Rebecca, yes, why not? Go on, fire away.
What do you credit your lack of fear to?
If you separate out fear to fight and flight and shame, because they're very different, I do get fight or flight, so I'm scared of heights and stuff like that, things that I can't control, but I don't have any shame, probably because I went to a boarding school when I was very young. I am fearful of quite a lot of things, but not in work.
You don't appear to be scared of losing it all.
Oh, God, no.
Starting again. And I think that tends to be the basis for a really good entrepreneur, because for me, the thought of losing everything is absolutely...
I'm a much better person when I don't have money.
Okay.
I'm much more driven. I'm much less lazy. I'm typically slightly thinner. So that's probably about it. But I'm also not materialistic. I'll live in a van if I have to. When I was in a relentless pursuit of wealth, that wasn't about the money, I don't think. It was about trying to beat my dad, which is a different motivator than actually money. Probably the 2 months after, so lockdown 21, there was one after, starting to late December, didn't it? So I exited Kiss Gyms on the 15th of December. I was really stressed for about a week. I then did this talk here with Maria Miller, and then after Christmas I felt great. I felt really motivated because I think if you're really comfortable that's not a good position to be in, because I can't sit still, and so I'm not comfortable in my own brain unless I'm doing something.
Ben?
So when you get a new site, and you talked about either leasing or potentially sort of kind of owning going forward, when you look at the scaling and you get a new site or another new site, what are the kind of headaches, operationally of doing that?
We won't take on a site where we feel there's any risk. So we've done rent to rent before, but we won't do that if we're worried about the numbers. So we've been looking to buy for about 3 years, and we've got very rigid metrics, acquisition metrics, and then we'll map out planning metrics, and so on the acquisition side we'll never do personal guarantees. So we teach never sign a personal guarantee in business, because don't mix business and pleasure. So we put in those parameters, our risk parameters, and that's been quite a challenge for us to find sites. We did the same with Kiss Gyms. We had very specific metrics on where we could, the price in which we could strike to do a deal, and we were behind the market. So we stopped growing because we kept on losing to Pure Gym and Gym Group, who were just coming in a few quid a foot. But we just felt, actually, don't take the risk, because there's no point growing for growing's sake if you're going to reduce your profitability. So we're very conscious of protecting that upside. And I prefer to be smaller and quieter and profitable than bigger and not profitable. We don't see risk in operations largely. We had a small fire here. That was a bit of a risk, which was my fault. So without things like that, trying to burn down Gary's building, property's quite binary, right? It's just, it either works or it doesn't. So yeah, people is where the risk is, I would say, having the right people. Yeah.
Cheryl?
Similar question really about scaling and growing. So when you do have a new site, how do you then ensure that the quality of what you're delivering and everything else is happening at that new site? How do you, especially when they're so far away from each other, you mentioned Milton Keynes and here. Yeah,
so we do a lot of automation. We are moving away from people. So we've just had an AI audit, and we've just engaged an 18-month process to automate everything, so that we can scale to 10 sites with the same team. And I suppose it comes down to understanding the customer. So once you've created a site and the site's mature, you don't need to go at all. Because the ecosystem is self-perpetuating, and which drives marketing costs down, because the community pulls in their peers to come and work here. We won't go more than 60 minutes from Winchester. So that's probably a way to de-risk growth, but there's enough space to be inside that. And it falls down to me quite a lot. So I'm definitely a blockage in IncuHive, without a doubt. I'm a massive bottleneck, because the door system. We've had a door system problem in Weybridge, and I'll go there on Saturday night at 10 o'clock, and I'll go and do that, and I'll be there till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. You mentioned finding the right people.
I've got an amazing team. Where's Jenny?
She's at the back.
Is she? So, and Amy. Oh, I didn't see you come in. We've got really good people, like really, really good people, and they're fully bought in. We kind of run a holocracy. So I don't know where any of my team are at any one point. They don't, they don't have to come to work. They have outputs, but I don't check those outputs. They're very fluid in their roles. They know the overarching role of the company, and then we cover each other. And so, yeah.
What's a holocracy?
Well, basically no. So. Lord of the Flies, basically.
I thought you put together.
Yeah, so holocracy is a bit like Lord of the Flies. Yeah, it's a free for all. But if you have a central vision, goal, and theme that everyone's bought into, then you don't need, So we don't do 360 appraisals or anything like that. We don't have meetings. We have the odd meeting, but we have a very central goal that everyone's bought into, and they know how to get there. I don't know if it works with bigger companies, but Zappos is the most famous holacracy.
Worked for Visa.
Is Visa?
It worked for Visa.
Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't read about Visa.
Yeah, Deep Hook.
Right.
Patented it and took it
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And then Zappos, I think, is 3,000 staff in Vegas. They're a shoe company.
George, it's been a fascinating conversation. It's been really, really good. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. So thank you. So Jenny, George, what happens next then? And how do you want to manage this with the tour?
If you want to have a look round, grab one of us. We'll show you what we're offering here. I can tell you kind of here now. So we've got 8,000 square foot. We have 4 products, which is registered address. So if you don't want to register your post to your home, which we don't think is advisable if you're a small business, because we like the separation of home and business, you can register your post here. We've got a hot desk, we've got dedicated desks, and then we've got office space from $325 a month, and we've got 12 offices upstairs. The site's 24-hour access. There is parking.
I've got to mention the microchip.
Well, yes, some of you may or may not know. I've got microchips in my hands. Which are implanted. We own the human implanting company. So I've got microchip in here which does the doors. So the tech we've put in is like super sophisticated. In the future, you won't have to, you'll just walk up to the front door and it will see your face and it will let you in. And so, you know, and then it will, if you let in someone behind you that we don't recognise, then we'll be notified of that. But in
and
the
50,000 volts will come through the...
yeah. But also on my left hand, I have my LinkedIn profile. So if you, because I'm anti-paper, conceptually, I don't have business cards. So if you want my business card, you can just scan your phone on my hand, and it brings up my LinkedIn page, and then you can connect with me. My business partner Steve did program it once to a very naughty page on the internet to annoy me, but that's been changed now. So in our terms and conditions, like on row 58, it says if you lose your pass 3 times, we'll microchip you. Which then just shows us no one reads our
God,
terms.
this sounds like the Borg in Star Trek.
Yeah, we've microchipped a lot of people.
There's a talking point while you go on the tour. So thank you all for coming. Really appreciate you taking the time out. Thank you.
Thanks to Mark and George for that brilliant conversation recorded at a Stronger Together Forum event in May at IncuHive, which is now open in Basingstoke. And if you're holding an event and you think it would make good listening on About Basingstoke, get in touch on the website aboutbasingstoke.com. And if you want to join Mark Jones's Stronger Together Forum, the link is in the show notes, or just search Stronger Together Forum Basingstoke.